Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm JASONGRUBB, and again, I've got Rick Stevenson with me on this episode.
Happy semifinals week, Jason. Are you excited?
Hey, what a great time. Oh, I'm so excited. I woke up nervous, and we're recording this on Monday night. We received our semifinal email that had links to all the semifinal workouts for me at 2 o'clock Central Time, for you at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. So we had plenty of time from wake up until delivery to stress and be nervous and chew off all of our fingernails. But then we got the workouts and immediately texted each other. Got them. Here we go, right?
And suddenly you saw the little link on the email for each of the descriptions, and it's almost as CrossFitters understand. It's when you get, it's like Christmas morning. You're hesitant to touch the link and go, oh my gosh, what is coming? And then I was like, some good and some bad. We'll see.
Seriously, I don't know why I went. I very much agree with the Christmas morning analogy, because I was reading the workout in the email to see the overview of it, and then I would see the workout and the weights, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, test 1B, 225-pound snatches, oh my gosh. Then I'd click the link to get the details and get in there and see that there's a little more information there that is very relevant. I'm like, oh, okay. So then, because I did it that way on the first workout, I couldn't just click all 4 links and just look at the actual workout sheets. I had to go back and look at almost like the wrapping paper, and then open it and see what it actually looked like on the inside. So I just went into this whole cycle of doing that.
Well, as an old man here, I'll tell you that I saw the 225, and for once I didn't panic. I said, let me just get in. Let me read the details. They're not making 50 to 54 do 225 snatches right now at this stage. So yeah,
well, we'll get into that when we talk about that workout. We'll get there, and we've got some fun. It's a new thing that we're seeing here, which is really cool. But I definitely had about 1 minute of absolute panic, thinking, "Wow, what if I get a 0 on a workout? This is tricky. I can snatch 225. I have snatched it 3 times precisely in my life, and if I have to, I'll do it.
Figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
I do want to say, as of our
Yeah.
recording right now, they're still not. I'm still not getting them from the website itself. They're still not up,
Right.
And I had no luck in the app either. I get nothing in the app. So the only way we're seeing these are from the emails. And I know I had some friends reach out, hey, what are they? What are you talking about? And if you didn't see them posted on Instagram for CrossFit, you could have gotten them emailed to you from somebody who had them. So that's why we have in front of us.
And to second that, I also got text messages from people who saw a post on Instagram that showed the workouts, but because there's nothing up on the website or in the app, they didn't know the scaling options. They're asking me, hey, Jason, how many 225 snatches are you planning to get? And now I've got to explain that, well, actually in the actual printout, we have a bit of scaling in there, and there's a bit more detail to get into. And the details are fun. We're going to get to those details. We have one piece of news that you picked up in a podcast with Boz and the CrossFit podcast that was very interesting.
Chase hosted it, but
Yep.
There was a question was asked about the equipment list and maybe some of the discrepancies of what has been programmed, specifically the bench. I don't think a bench was listed. As insignificant as that sounds, somebody brought it up and said, well, why did we see benching in quarterfinals? Boz's answer was pretty clear. It makes a lot of sense now. The equipment list was born out of the pandemic. A lot of people at home, not access to a gym. They started to bring things back. They wanted to try and make it as inclusive as possible and said, here's the bare bones of equipment that you'll need to complete the following tests. They anticipate going away from it pretty shortly because as everything is opened back up and you really have access to just about everything you need for what they've programmed so far, don't get so hung up if you get something programmed that's not on the equipment list. So the community doesn't have to stress anymore.
I like that. It was definitely one of the guides that we were using to try to predict workouts and predict remaining workouts. We haven't seen this yet. We haven't seen that yet. So then when something doesn't come through, there's a bit of confusion. And now we're circling back and maybe we're getting grumpy with HQ because they didn't have something they said they were going to have. And we went out and bought something, or, whatever. The one thing that they've done in the past that I did like, this was before they had a full equipment list, is they did give some hints historically to something that might be not readily available. So I remember in 2016, 2017, I think it was 2017, when they let the community know we're going to be having dumbbells in the open
Correct.
this year.
Yep.
And I think that was fair. You
Mhm.
like give people a heads up that there's kind of a new piece of equipment that we should all have, but just in case you don't, we're going with 35s and 50s. And then in 2021, I believe, they mentioned that the semifinals or the age groups would be having a GHD in one of our virtual competitions. So that gave us the time to make sure that we had the ability to get to a gym or acquire a GHD. My crazy brain, as soon as I heard that there was going to be a GHD in the semifinals, I had a GHD and I sold mine because it was kind of an off-brand, like used one. I sold that and I bought the Rogue, I don't know, Abram 2.0 exclusive, whatever the edition was. I don't know but I have the one that's made out of, I don't know, tank armor. It's 3,000 pounds. I remember taking that from my garage to the gym in 2021, I believe, and being concerned actually that I was going to hurt myself getting this GHD into the back of my truck to get it to the gym to do semifinals. But, there's a lot on the line. So I wanted to make sure I had a good GHD. What am I going to do?
Yes, our Phil kind of takes seeing some GHDs for granted there. I won't do that anymore. Yeah. Oh,
You
God.
never know. The gym that I was training at, they did not have great GHDs,
Mhm.
and it can't leave any stone unturned. So yeah, I brought my own GHD in. But with that said,
Yes.
let's just jump deep into the deep end here. We have 4 tests released by HQ. Just from an overview, top level, we've got test 1 is a 2-part test. Test 2 is a 1-part test. Correct me if I'm wrong
Mhm.
in any of these, Rick.
Yep.
Test 3 is also a 2-part test. And then test 4 is a 1-part test. So we have a total of 6 scores, but we have different points for different tests, though test A and test B. So all of the test Bs are 50 points. The test A's are 100 points. We have a total of 500 points altogether. So we'll keep that in mind as we kind of work our way through these tests.
Points are differently now for semifinals. First place in a workout gets 100 points. They'll scale it on down all the way down to 30th place. And I think that scoring is in the rule books somewhere too. So in the past, where fewest number of points was best, now it's max number of points. So total available would be, if you won all of the workouts, would be 500 points.
Interesting. Very good point. And that is news to me right now. I love that you have these details. This is why we keep you around here, Rick. You know the things.
Tell the family that too.
I know. Well, test number 1A, we have test number 1A and B, and they are back-to-back tests with no break between them. I'll talk about this workout, and then we'll go through some of the details and some of our thoughts. And then, Rick, you'll do test number 2,
Sure.
and we'll go back and forth there. So test number 1A is 4-time. It is worth 100 points. It starts with a 1,000-meter row, 100 double unders, 20 shuttle runs, back to the rower for a 750-meter row, 75 double unders, 15 shuttle runs, back to the rower for 500, 50 double unders, 10 shuttle runs, 250-meter row, 25 double unders, 5 shuttle runs. Time cap is 25 minutes, which tells me this is a time-consuming effort. And as soon as you step across that finish line, with those 5 shuttle runs done, you immediately have 3 minutes to complete as many snatches as possible during those 3 minutes. The RX weight for the younger ages, we'll just call them the younger ages in the Masters community, are 225, 155. For those that are 45 to 54, in my age group, we've got 185, 125. Masters 55 to 59, that's your age group. You've got 155, 105, and that's all I have on the sheet right here. So
I think you made
this
me
was
older than I am. I've got your 185.
yeah. What did
So,
I say?
yeah, my age
Yep,
group,
yep.
I'd love to be 55, 59 with 155
Oh,
right
that's
now.
right. Yeah, I don't know why I
I'd
said
love
that.
to be.
I don't know why I threw that out there.
What
Yeah, you are in my age group. I don't know why I just
it's just interesting on the weight right now. And they went by 10-year increments, which we think as a
Yep.
community we've been asking, and
Yep.
maybe they've listened to this, and I think they're appropriate for each of those 10-year windows.
And last year we had a snatch workout, and the interesting thing about last year was that I had, as a 46-year-old last year, all the way up to 50-year-old, we had heavy snatches. We started with 135, we bumped up to 185, bumped up to 225, then 245 for my age group. And then once we got to your age group, the scaling was pretty dramatic, and it became a
Yeah.
different workout.
Yeah, our top weight was 155 in that final, I think, window or however they did it. So it became just grip it and rip it as many times as you could. And our score numbers were a lot higher than the absolute numbers that you had, because I think if you got a snatch or two at 225, that was considered a really, really good job.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that between me and you, we've got about 4 years of age difference,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a 90-pound difference in the heavy snatch. I didn't
Yeah,
get anywhere close to the 225-pound snatch, and now you're in that last snatch in at 155, and just, I know that you were touch and go for about 6 minutes.
yeah.
Not touch and go, but it was
It was
really
drop,
a grueling
grab,
effort. Yeah,
drop,
yeah.
grab. Yeah, absolutely. So now here, both
So
at 185, this is going to be a little bit different, where I think your age group will go a lot faster than
yeah.
our age group will.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before that we started recording, but we are grateful that CrossFit is starting to create this graduated scaling, because it is appropriate. And we were also talking that, if they wanted to take this just a slight step further, if you go 185 for the 45 to 49-year-olds and you do something like 175 for the 50 to 54, that does make a big change for probably quite a few athletes in that 50 to 50-year-old age group. But again, CrossFit's making progress, and I'm not upset. I'm glad that we're not doing 225. But Rich Froning, 35, about 36, he is a different athlete than the 44-year-olds in that age group. So there'll be some dramatically different scores in that particular Part B effort. I think the same thing, a 46-year-old or 45-year-old versus a 54-year-old, that is pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
But gosh, thankfully there at least is these 10-year gradients here. Going to the top of the page, if we go to the beginning of this test, what are your initial impressions when you saw this? What were maybe some of your initial feelings, thoughts?
You and I made the joke that the lucky men and women that are going to move on from semifinals better practice running, because we've seen running now, shuttle runs in all three stages. Looking at it, test 1A as a whole, it's 50 total shuttle runs, roughly 10 minutes of rowing. It'll be much faster, but I'm just assuming the in and out of transition, it'll be like 4 minutes for 1,000, 3 for the 752, and 1 minute. So roughly 10 minutes of rowing faster. And then 250 double unders, I think, if I've got my math right. So to have 25-minute cap, we're going to be, everybody will be done faster than that. But the cap gives you clues to what they think. It's a longer duration workout.
It's a longer duration, and this is the long workout in this entire, again, overview of the entire test. This is the long one.
Yep.
And we kick it off with the long one, or at least we have to do this within the first 24-hour window. And if one could do the entire semifinals in that first 24-hour window, if they wanted to really change it up and do the last workout first and the first workout last, but I noticed that they put this first, and this was a similar workout like this was in quarterfinals in the second half window of quarterfinals. It was test 3, I believe, of quarterfinals. And I just remember in quarterfinals, the shuttle runs were quite devastating. I felt my heart rate go up significantly, and then just stayed very high through the shuttle runs, through the rope climbs, through the bench press. It was really tough to finish that workout. And I know that for me, I was on the ground for quite a few minutes at the end of that workout. And at the end of this workout, we don't have the opportunity to get on the ground. We have to immediately start snatching. So I think there's going to be an element in this workout where you're thinking as you're rowing, which is, in shuttle runs where you have the most time just you and your thoughts and your judge counting correctly. Wow, am I going too fast, or what are snatches going to feel like after this effort?
Right.
So
and
I'm curious to see.
You brought this point up. You don't begin your 3 minutes at the 25-minute mark. It clearly states, it says test 1B begins as soon as 1A is complete. So if you're done in 21 minutes, your total time working will be 24 minutes. I mean, you do not get faster on 1A, does not allow you to rest the 25-minute mark. So it is just, you're going to want to push the pace because you have to on 1A, but you better be ready to pick up a bar.
And this is in my mind, it's like this monostructural triplet, right? I mean, it's not monostructural, but it's a very monostructural triplet that it really attacks your overall endurance, your cardiovascular system, and then we've got to go into some really fast twitch muscle movements. But also 3 minutes of that is an endurance component as well. I think about the open workout where we had, those 185-pound snatches after we'd already done a decent amount of work. And those 185-pound snatches were not easy for anyone, let alone the 225. Once people got there, they were very fatigued. And here we are again, testing a snatch after being significantly fatigued. It's going to make, I think, for some really challenging snatches.
Absolutely.
After this amount of work.
Absolutely.
It makes me think also about, when we were watching the Bosman, I'm not sure, what's that series called behind the games?
Run the test.
Run the test.
Yes, run the test.
So he likes that concept that is this original concept of like, can you run a mile and deadlift heavy? Or, at the games last year, he had the shuttle runs, the elite athletes, they did these shuttle runs and then these heavy jerks, and they did that in an interval style. And not that I'm trying to predict any kind of trends that Bosman has. I mean, it's way too early to predict how he thinks, but there is some similarity here. Like, hey, can you endure this amount of high heart rate, monostructural kind of work? And then can you lift a barbell, and can you recover enough to move a barbell consistently for 3 minutes, which is so short? I think it's a really curious and interesting test. I don't know if I like it. I'm not saying I like it. I think it's going to be incredibly painful, but my personal opinion doesn't matter. I'm going to have to do it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, we'll have feedback after this week is over.
So much. Yeah, that'll be fun.
And we decide to give a little recap. Good and bad, it'll all come out.
Right. We'll have a lot more to say about our thoughts and opinions about the test afterwards.
Oh, yes.
Is there anything else in this workout that athletes that are doing this, whether they're just having fun doing it, some semifinal tests or the actual competitors, is there anything in here that people might mess up, they might forget, where areas that they might get dinged from HQ?
I would just say make sure that they're, all the floor plans laid out in each of the tests, and we'll get through that as we talk about each one. But take the time to read. I think there are some nuances in a few of these that you want to make sure that you're focused on. I don't think there's something as unique as a V-up or how to count a crossover. I mean, they're certainly pretty, if you'll use the word traditional movements in here, but take the time, because I think they have spelled out specifically how they want to see us perform these tests, and I think it'll. No one, whether you're doing it for fun or you're in semifinals, no one wants to be surprised with a penalty email if they don't have to get one.
Not at all. This should be cut and dry. Let's hope this is cut and dry, and there were a couple of things I noticed when people were doing different measurements during quarterfinals. Just make sure you have those measurements on the right side of the tape line. It's the outside of the tape line for shuttle runs, not the inside. Make it abundantly clear to HQ when you stand up on a snatch. Make it abundantly clear that you finished the snatch. Like, your hips are open, you're standing still.
Yeah, don't grab the rower handle early, or don't ghost the last 15 meters like we saw on somebody's video or something like that.
And I just play by the rules.
Yep, exactly.
Do the right thing. All right, why don't you give us?
Let's take a look at test 2.
Go for it.
Now, test 2 is 100 points. It's complete as many reps as possible of thrusters and muscle ups. So when you first see that, you say, athletes must complete a minimum number varied by division of thrusters and muscle ups. If this number is not achieved for any one movement, any reps over the minimum of the other movement will not count. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure, which we saw in a open workout a number of years back, ironically with muscle ups too, if I remember right. But the weights and the minimums for Masters 35 to 49 are 15 thrusters and 15 muscle ups, 135 for the men, 95 for the women. And for 50 to 59, it's 15 thrusters and 10 muscle ups, 95 for the women, 135 for the men. So we both have, you have a minimum of 30 reps. You have to do 15 thrusters and 15 muscle ups. And then however you will continue to work for the time cap of 5 minutes will determine your score, as long as your minimum of 15 and 15 are met. And for me, it's 15 and 10 are met. I think as an athlete, you're going to have to decide what do you want to, or what is the best bang for your buck in your remaining time. Do I want to do more thrusters? Do I want to do more ring muscle ups? It's interesting. I've not seen a style like this. I've not done
No, and
anything like this in training, really. We certainly had choose your own adventure type training, but for a test, I don't know.
well,
This will be interesting.
and I immediately misread it when I first reviewed this workout. I assumed that I knew what this workout was. Oh, it's an AMRAP, right? I mean, it just makes sense. It's an AMRAP. And then I reread. I was like, oh wait, it's not an AMRAP. Oh, it is this choose your own adventure. And it of course, if of all the workouts, we have sort of the long workout with the lifting at the end. This is the quote unquote strategy workout. This is where I think an athlete is tested on knowing themselves the best, right? So
It's going to take less out of
yeah,
to get the most
yeah.
reps that you can of the other movement.
Right. And I think that's an important thing to test. I mean, at least I generally think I'm an athlete that knows myself pretty well. I know what limits I can push on myself. I know what my strengths are, my weaknesses are. I think, and I'm saying I think on all of these because that's, I think, what's fun about a test like this. I think I know how I want to approach this. I think I know where my bias is on thrusters and ring muscle ups once I get through the 15 and 15. But I'm not completely sure. So I think that's what is kind of fun, makes this a bit of a game. Like it kind of drives me crazy too, because I think I'm really good at this one thing, and I think I could accumulate more reps over here. But maybe I can get more reps on this side. So I almost feel like on this workout, I'm probably going to run through dozens of scenarios over the next 3 days. And then when it comes to testing the workout,
Yep.
I'm going to get through the 15. I'm going to get through the 15. And then it's just, like throw the game plan out.
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay. Let's just get all the reps I can. I don't know. I'm panicking.
I've got a few minutes
I feel like
left. I have to move.
I
I
think
can't
that's what it's
breathe.
actually gonna. Yeah, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't do any of it. There's cameras. Is it recording? I don't even. Is it recording? It better be
Oh,
recording because I can't do this again. These are the panic attacks that. If you've ever done semifinals, these are the mini panic attacks you have multiple times through a 5-minute workout.
the one thing I'll say is there is a tie break in this, and it's the tie break is when you've completed the minimum number of both the thrusters and the muscle ups. So your judge will be looking when you hit 15 and 15, that's your tie break. And for me, it's 15 and 10, that's your tie break. So there is a bit of obviously sense of urgency in a 5-minute window to
Mm,
get your minimums done. And then again,
mm.
you should have a little bit of a plan in your head. What am I going to attack for the remaining X number of minutes that you have, assuming it takes you 2 or 3 minutes to get through your minimum work requirement.
Right, right. And I did some testing on this workout today, and I just found it to be one of those classic push pull style workouts. It's definitely a heart rate inducing workout. I say it gets the heart rate going very quickly, like any standard push pull workout. But I like it. I really like the idea that it's got thrusters, it's got muscle ups. These are both challenging movements, and I love that as we move from the open to quarterfinals to semifinals, we see this increase of skill and weight. A higher demand. You can't just drag a guy off the street that can do ring muscle ups and 135-pound thrusters for most of these age groups. It just, at least that's for men, you can't just drag someone off the street and say, hey, give this a go. This is not just an endurance test. It's not just a fitness test. This is, have you been training your ring muscle ups throughout the year? Do you have the shoulder endurance to navigate both ring muscle ups and thrusters? Like, have you done the work through the year to be ready for something like this? Because just in testing, like, this is a doozy. That's all I can say. Is this is like all of them. They're all a punch in the face, but this one is a special one because it's choose how you want to get punched.
And the weight here, as we talked about the weight discounting in test 1A, test 1B, the weight discount really doesn't begin here until 60 and up. As I'm looking at that, for men and women, they have 95 and 135 from 35 all the way up to 59. The weight stays the same. Now, the minimum work requirement changes in the muscle ups, but your 35-year-old male and your 58 or 59-year-old male are going to be both thrustering 135. So that's a little
Yeah.
interesting there too, I thought.
It is interesting. I'd be curious what 58, 59-year-olds think, what 55-year-olds think. But I also feel encouraged because I want to be a 59-year-old doing 135-pound thrusters.
Yeah, I think that's the goal.
I want to be tested. Bring it. I want to be doing muscle ups at the time. I imagine a guy like Dave Hippensteel is glad that he still has muscle ups.
Hmm.
Masters men 60 plus have muscle ups all the
That's
way
right.
through. They're doing high skill, and that's something that I see that's encouraging for the sport. On one hand, we do talk about discounts being something we want to see appropriate scaling for age groups, and I feel like this one probably hits the nail on the head. I think the 135-pound thrusters are just challenging. It's not impossible. I don't think it needs
Hmm.
to be scaled. I think it's challenging. But on the other hand, we don't want them to water down the workouts too much because we want to be tested at
Right.
all ages and prove to the world, like 59-year-old doing 135-pound thrusters. I mean, that's just straight
Hats
up
off.
awesome right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep. No
yeah.
doubt.
Yep, I want to be that guy. All right, let's jump into test 3. Okay, once again, I've got the two-parter. I don't know how this happened, but I'm going to do
you,
it.
you like a
Um,
lot of work.
I just went for it. It was not the plan. So test 3A, we've got 100 points here. Test 3B will be 50 points. Test 3A, we've got 5 intervals of 2 minutes of work followed by 1 minute of rest. And if I'm correct, Rick, just check me on this, but it's essentially 5 AMRAPs.
Correct.
Is
Yes.
that yes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I was 99% sure.
Mhm.
So in these intervals, so we have 7 deadlifts, 5 cleans, 3 shoulder to overhead. The RX weight is 185 pounds for men, 125 pounds for women. And the way this works is you're going to do 3, 2, 1, go, 7 deadlifts, 5 cleans, 3 shoulder to overhead, as many rounds and reps as possible in 2 minutes. You're going to rest 1 minute. And then when you go back to this interval or this AMRAP, you start back at deadlifts and you run through it again. It's always starting with deadlifts, getting as many rounds and reps as you can in that 2 minute window. You do this 5 times. And once you finish the 5th round, you have 1 minute of rest and you go directly into test 3B, which is 5 minutes to establish a max freestanding handstand hold, which is just super fun to see the skill that we've seen at the semifinals for, I believe, the individual athletes in 2020 trickle down to us 3 years later, which is really cool. So we have 5 minutes to establish that max freestanding handstand hold. A point to make on that is that we have the entire 5 minutes to kick up to that handstand. We can take multiple attempts. That's one nice thing. 2, if let's say you take 2 or 3 attempts, as long as you are in a handstand prior to the 5 minute mark, you can extend that last handstand for hours if you would like, as long as you would like beyond. But you have to be in that handstand at that 5 minute mark. It's a lot like getting that last lift in. It has to be up prior to that 5 minute mark, which is very cool. Now we have some scaling options here. Masters 35 to 44. Men are at 185, women are at 135. If we bump up to the Masters 45 to 54, which is both of us, we're at 105.55, 155 for men, 105 for women. And then the 50 plus has 135 and 95 for men and for women. So again, we've got a scaling that seems appropriate for our age groups. I think that's fair.
It's very DT like.
Very
Yeah.
DT like.
Yeah.
And this is grippy. I feel like this is a workout that is, I love interval workouts. I do a lot of interval work. So I really like this style. But I do very much know that this is going to get really, really, really spicy, really fast. I was going to say dirty. I couldn't decide between dirty and spicy.
3, I think. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
round 3 is going to get you there.
Oh.
And the pairing here is really fun because you're going to be severely taxed in those shoulders, particularly from your core from the deadlifts, shoulders from the cleans, and the shoulder to overhead. Then we jump into a max handstand hold in a 4-foot box. So obviously, initial impressions, Rick, when you saw this one, what were your thoughts?
Handstand walks.
Mm.
They could have laid out the test 3A and then given us a 25-foot. And that's just because handstand holds going to be an adventure for me. Let's put it that way. But within a 4-foot box, you can move your hands as long as you don't touch the tape or no part of your body leaves the box. You can move around a little. It'll be trying to find the balance, trying to grip the floor with your fingertips, fire the shoulders, which will, as you said, will be taxed. This is, to me, I saw this and I thought DT, I know the rep scheme's different. And there's no hang power cleans. It's clean. So it's got to come from the floor. And they specifically talk about, but it's going to feel like DT 5 round, what goes, your grip, your shoulders, everything, and then turn right around into a very, very high skill for all age groups. And I think you pointed that out. Everybody is going to attempt the handstand hold. 55 and up, doesn't matter. Good luck getting upside down, seeing how long you can hold it.
I mean, how great is that? How great is the keep it again? what I love about the 50-point efforts, the part B to workout 1 and workout 3, are these sort of separator polarizing type events. There's going to be people that can really snatch like crazy in 1B. And they may not have, I mean, they may have a great score in that part 1, or they may not, but it's polarizing. But also it's a high school polarizing type situation. And so is the handstand hold. Very polarizing. And again, it's nice to have a polarizing event to test people's skill, to really up that game and get the best competitors to the games. But if you're mediocre at handstand holds, because it's only 50 points, this is not a devastating workout.
It's not as
You're not
damaging as if it were
out.
100.
Yeah.
Right. Correct.
Yeah. And I think that just shows me that there was some real thought put into this, because as far as I know, in any online test that I've ever done, there's never been any 50-point efforts
Same.
that I know of.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they went back, and someone was at a whiteboard saying, "Hey, what about someone that's just completely just face plants, yard sales this handstand hold, but they're really a decent athlete?" Well, they're going to get dinged, and it may cost them semifinals, but it may not, because it is 50 points. They win every other one, they lose 50 points here, or maybe they lose 30 points here. They're not dead. They're not dead in the water, but they are teasing these higher skill movements for us, because this is the kind of stuff that we expect to see at the games. They are still very much trying to get the very best high skill, high capacity athletes to the games. Is that fair?
That's very fair. I thought last year, with your example of up through your age group, you had the obstacle for the handstand walk.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked to see an obstacle for even an older age group now this year at the games. The other thing is, there was, and I can't remember where I saw it, but there was a little giveaway in something from either the rule book or an email that came out that talked about 100 points or 50 points. And I think that was
I saw that.
flashing. Yeah. And I don't remember where I saw that, but I was like,
Mhm.
they were telegraphing it to us. We
They
didn't know
were.
what it was going to be. But again, and it caught my attention because, just like you said, I don't think we've ever had, there have been 50 points at the games. If you remember way back when they had the shuttle runs and the handstand walks out in Carson, those were 50-point scores. They were not full 100-point scores.
Yep.
And I think because somebody described it as just a smaller, higher skill or monostructural, very fast, they didn't want to weight it as much as a longer. I think that was the year they had Murph, and they didn't want to say a shuttle sprint was equivalent to doing Murph in points wise on the standings.
Yeah.
So
that's really smart thinking right there. Even going back to the games then, that they had the insight on that. Which makes a lot of sense. And then to bring that into this space. And I remember when they telegraphed that, I think it was via email. I for sure thought that we would have some part A and part B workouts where it'd be 50 points for part A, 50 points for part B. That's where my brain was thinking. But I wasn't expecting 2 double workouts or 2 double efforts. This, again, it takes this idea, like, one of the complaints or one of the challenges that Masters athletes have had in the past was the fact that if we've had 2 3-day qualifiers, so quarterfinals was a 3-day effort, and then we had semifinals as a 3-day effort. Some people struggled with their work schedule and had to manage work, life, family, and all of that twice for these qualifiers, and that created some challenges and limitations for people. So CrossFit goes back to the drawing board, and they think, okay, how do we create tests that will bring the best to the games, but also consolidate this and concentrate it into 2 days, but also give enough points to make a nice spread, an actual real test. Like, if we only had 400 points, that's super tight, right?
Yes,
so how do we get these guys 500 points to manage? How do we get these guys? And in quarterfinals, they gave us 500 points by having part A and part B in a workout that was worth 100 each. And in semifinals, now we've got 4 workouts plus part B for 2 workouts, technically 6 scores.
I kind of like that. Yeah.
Those extra efforts aren't maybe worth full 100 points, so they give it 50 points each. Again, it's a really nice and artistic, I think, creative solution to, guys, we can't test you in person. We can't test you over 3 days, but here's 2 days, and here's 2 really good tests, and here's as close as we can get to a fair scoring situation for you.
So if I'm upside down for only 5 seconons, then it's not going to be as damaging. Is that what you're saying? No.
That is what I'm saying. Rick, I will fly up there. If you text me that day, you're like, oh, I got 5 seconds. I will. You're fired.
Well,
Um,
now
not
I know I'm
there's no
texting you
firing
that no
power.
matter
I have no firing power. So
no matter what I do, you're getting a text that says
you're
that.
retired. Okay.
I'm
Okay,
retired.
good. You're
Uh,
going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
there is no hiding behind test four here. It
Nope.
is not 50 point. It is 100 points. It's a similar to the end of quarterfinals. This is going to be a punch in the mouth for both male and female. It is a four time with a 15-minute cap, so it gives you a little idea on what they think the duration should be. It'll certainly be under. It'll be a buy-in of 20 burpee box jump overs into 2 rounds of 20 kettlebell box step-ups and 2 rope climbs. So 2 rounds of that. And then 2 rounds of 20 kettlebell goblet squats and 2 legless rope climbs. And then a cash out of 20 burpee box jump overs. Now, interestingly, the box for all is 20 inches. We went to an 11-foot target for wall balls last year in semifinals, something different, something higher and harder. That direction. Here we're going with a 20-inch box. So the 20 inches for male and female. The kettlebell weight is 70 pounds for the men, 53 for the women, and a 15-foot rope for all age groups except for 55 plus. They get a 12-foot rope. So a buy-in of burpee box jump overs, 4 rounds of various kettlebell movements plus rope climbs, challenging rope climbs too, being legless, and then a cash out of burpee box jump overs. At 15 minutes, I get that there are going to be a lot of scores sub 10 minutes, which means you're going to have to be moving on this every single part. And at 20 burpee box jump overs at 20 inches at the very end, I wouldn't be surprised if you're not touching the box. You're just doing a complete launch over, at least for the last few reps. That's my guess.
When was the last time you've done a 20-inch burpee box jump over?
It would have been the last time I did Fight Gone Bad, because that's that's truly the RX of Fight Gone Bad. But then I'm going to have to tell you, it's probably been 10 plus years since I've done 20 inches. We warm up on 20, but
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a workout, I don't think I have.
Interesting. I
Have
tested the
you?
burpee box jump over at 20 today. I just wanted to see, what does it
Okay.
feel like to do a burpee box jump over at 20 inches? It's bizarre.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, my body was super confused. Last year we threw a wall ball to 11 feet, and that was atrocious. Really challenging, right? And then this year we're jumping to a 20-inch box. I overjumped height-wise.
Mhm.
So many attempts. I was like, my body was trying to overdo it in a way that it was very just disorienting. So I did like 2 or 3, and I was like, I can't find a rhythm. This is a brand new movement on a 20-inch box for me, because we're always 24 inches or we're 30 inches, for goodness sake. So now
Just
we're at
4 weeks
20
ago in
inches.
quarterfinals, we were jumping all to a 30-inch box.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're on a
The
20 inch.
first one. Yeah.
Now I know I actually, so I want to give a thank you directly to the person who, if it was Adrian or whoever gave him the feedback that, hey, if you're doing step ups, 24 inches is really a mess for some people, right? So for me, I'm 5'8" on a good day, maybe 5'8.5" in the morning. But when I do 24-inch box step ups, it is a slightly compromised movement pattern for me, because it's too high. Like a 26-inch box, 22-inch
22.
box would be perfect for me. A 20-inch box is great. So when I do, in my training, when I do step ups, to get the right stimulus, I'm actually typically going to a 20-inch box, because 24 is just too deep. I end up really twisting and whatever. So
Mhm.
to get this kettlebell step up on a 20-inch box, I did a couple of those today, and I was like, this is an appropriate stimulus. Like, this feels correct. It feels like the right height. It's really weird to do burpee box jump overs at this height, but the kettlebell step up, thank you. Because if I go higher than that, I mean, I've got some really weird, I got a mess in my hips on the day after some taller box step ups. Again, jumps, it's fine, but step ups, you got the single leg modality, and I think we put ourselves in a weird spot there. So that's a nice feature there, from my take. And I know that's very selfish. There's plenty of athletes that are taller than me saying like, hey man, 24-inch box
That's the way it
suck
is.
it up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly.
after testing it today, I was appreciative of that. And you're right. I think that this is definitely a barn burner, set yourself on fire kind of workout. But it's got some traps in it. And,
Yeah. I
to the
would
athletes
say
out there. Yeah.
One of them is a popular, or now I would say popular, a common penalty for the individuals in their quarterfinals was the racing of the front squats, failure to
Hmm.
lock out.
Yep.
Here, we don't have a barbell, but we have a goblet squat, and I know they'll
Hmm.
be looking for locking out shoulders, hips, and knees.
Yep.
The tendency at 70 pounds, you're like, okay, that's only a 70-pound front squat, and I've got 40 of them total to do. I want to make sure I get through them fast, but don't forget
Yep.
they'll be looking for lockout, and I
Yeah.
I
And
bet you
those
they'll be dinged. People be dinged for that.
this one's workouts that is it's another push pull workout. So thrusters is push pull. This is another push pull, and buckle up because the heart rate is going to go through the roof because it's the push pull. You're really engaging significant muscle groups on the pulling side of things, and then right back into the step ups and the squats, which are pushing. And you've got this 20 burpee buy-in, which is just straight up a trap, which is fine. If all my competitors would like to do those first set of 20 burpees as fast as physically possible,
Sign up.
yeah,
Sign them
please
up.
go for it.
Yeah.
Totally go for it.
Be careful.
I think if they're games contenders, they know where the traps are on this thing. But it's as far as a fair test, a fun test, thinking through it as the finale. It's for me, in my mind, it's one of those where, like, yeah, when I'm done with this one, I'm done for the weekend, I think, and I don't know
Mhm.
what order I'm going to do all the workouts in, but I know that this is one of those that I'm like, it's going to hurt. It's a lot like the last workout in our semifinals, which was the thruster and rowing workout. When you start it, it's going to suck. And there's nothing you can do. You just got to finish it if you want to, put your stamp or get a ticket to the games.
Yeah, it's not going to be. You don't have rounds of rest like you do in three A.
Nope.
So once you begin the burpee box jump overs, hang on because it's going to be. I'm assuming around a 10 minute or so, 10 minute sub 10 minute workout certainly for the younger age groups.
Yeah, and that's just a painful place to be right there. Thinking about the amount of effort, what 20 burpee box jump overs does to the rest of a workout, really makes me I'm not looking forward of all the workouts. I'm not looking forward to this one. I'm not necessarily looking forward to the rowing, double under and shuttle run workout just because it has that repetitiveness to it. It is what's programmed. And I'm not a big complainer about what's programmed. These are the workouts. These are the tests. I don't have time or energy to critique them, overwhelmingly critique them, or try to figure out a lot of what they're trying to test. I'm just going to do the work. And again, like you and I talked about earlier, when we're done with this entire test, we will jump onto a podcast next weekend, maybe with a piece of pizza in our hand to enjoy the finish or the completion of the test. And we will have all kinds of opinions about the workouts at that point. But we're there. This is what's given to us, and we'll do the work.
If I can finish with one thing is what we didn't see, which is I think surprising. For those that qualify and are able to advance, maybe you'll see some of these things at the next stage, but no wall ball since the open, no pistols at all this year, no crossover single unders for age groups, no handstand walking, no. I know we have deadlifts. And believe me, your back will remind you on Monday that you have had deadlift. But we're talking no heavy deadlifts. So I guess that's my point there. No 315s or even 335 in a workout. Plenty of deadlifting. You'll deadlift a number of times in that workout, but just no heavy deadlift. So I think as much as we talked about what is included and what we liked and saw and touched on in those three stages so far, it's also interesting of what's not in
Yeah.
the three stages.
There's a couple of other items that we've seen in the past, or at least the last 2 years, that we didn't see this year, and things that we saw this year that were interesting. So I think back to 2021, we had a 4-rep max front squat, which was very challenging. So these static lifts, right? And then last year we had the CrossFit total, which tested significant strength movements. But then this year we've seen a really decent amount of Olympic lifting. I mean, think about the Open. We have heavy snatches in the Open, or progressively heavier snatches. And then we have a heavy clean. We have a heavy thruster in our history. Now we have
heavy snatches again.
Heavy snatches again.
Yeah.
And heavy snatches in a similar fashion that the Open was. So there's a little repetitiveness there. Okay, it is what it is. But yeah, I think those are interesting observations, Rick, that we haven't seen
And
some of the items that we typically are tested on.
And without them broadening, I expect them to do this in future years as we thought, oh, wow, how will we ever see a rower when CrossFit was starting out in the open? But
Hmm.
without saying that everybody has a C2 bike or a ski
Hmm.
erg or an
Right.
echo bike,
Right.
without using any of those implements, you're going to be running. I guess that's the thing
Yeah.
of it. I can
Yeah.
test you on a rower and I'm going to test you on shuttle runs. And those are
Right.
going to be my, and double unders to some effect. Those are going to be my monostructural tests, if you
Yeah.
will, capacity
Yeah.
tests.
Yeah. I sure hope that in the future, at some point in our virtual competitions, we can see something like, I mean, I don't know what the most other common machine is. My brain thinks, of course, C2 bike, Concept 2 ski erg, Echo bike, assault bike. Those are all so scattered, and different gyms have different things. But
Mhm.
man, if we could see the ski erg, because we've seen the ski erg at the games multiple times, so many times, and even as masters athletes. In 2018, we had a ski erg. In 2021, we had a ski erg. And really,
Last
in
year we had the
2022,
ski.
we had a
Yep.
ski erg.
Yep.
Yeah. So 3 out of the last 4 years, I've been tested on the ski erg. And because of that, I own a ski erg. It's right behind me, actually. Yeah, I'd love to see that come into semifinals. Again, they'd have to give us plenty of notice so we can make sure that we have that. And that's what they've done in the past. Not every gym has GHD. So there is some levels of like responsibility on our part to, we're at a virtual competition. They're trying to bring the best in the world, and so maybe CrossFit can introduce a couple of or one of those machines in the next couple of years. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so those are the semifinal workouts. They are no small feat. We're really excited. I think both you and I are both excited to have them in our hands, to be strategizing, thinking, sharing strategy. And now we're going to jump into the strategy section where we tell you all of our secrets. Just kidding. Rick, how about a pick of the week?
Funny, it just cut out on me. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
what
don't know what
happened.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just funny. Like our internet kind of, if we could
Yeah.
get it back, we'll let you guys know. But yeah, we just spent 45 minutes on strategy.
Yeah. Nice.
How
It
about a pick
worked.
of the week instead? What is a pick of the week for you, or tip of the week?
It's probably just going to be, make sure you do all the small things right. I think it's not gear or anything like that. It's going to be read the directions, take time on your measurements, take time on your video to set everything up. Don't make it, as you said, I think be deliberate or something like that.
Yeah.
Make it easy on them watching the videos because there's only 30 men and 30 women per age group of videos that they need to review, so they will scrutinize them. There was some confusion in quarterfinals. I know not all of mine were reviewed, but they were all checked off. I think that happened in a number of age groups. So with this few of competitors across the age groups, take your time, have some fun. If you're doing these, you've earned the right to do them. Don't forget, it's no small feat to be at semifinals. So enjoy the process, and we'll see how it all shakes out. That's my tip. How about you?
I love it. I have a pick of the week, and I'm going to share just because I shared it on YouTube just today. That I've recently had an apparel sponsor sign me up. So an apparel sponsor. It's called Barbell Apparel, and it is my pick of the week for two reasons. One, well, they're not paying me at all to talk about this on the podcast. There's actually no credit here whatsoever. It's just that I have had for years and years and years a really hard time finding clothing that fits my body. I can find workout clothes all day, a large shirt and a large pants. That's all I need to do. Just order it and I got it. But when it comes to like jeans or slacks or a dress shirt, for goodness sakes, or like a shirt to just go out and hang out on the town or something like that, I've always struggled to try to find something that fits the athletic build. And Barbell Apparel, they sent me some jeans, they sent me some shirts to test out before I became signed on with them, and their stuff is great. In fact, yesterday I went with my family to Nashville. We hung out in downtown Nashville for 3 or 4 hours, and I wasn't wearing workout clothes the entire time. And that's the first time I've gone out to do something like that in years, not wearing shorts. So I had a well, I don't know, gosh, I don't know clothes, but I had khakis. They're not khakis, but they're like whatever the equivalent of khakis are nowadays. But like they weren't jeans and they weren't like slacks. So they're kind of khakis. and a shirt tucked in, and I felt so dressy. I'm going to tell you what, I felt so dressy. But at the same time, I'm also planning for my oldest son's wedding, which is this summer. And I did have I did have Barbell Apparel send me a dress shirt to try on for my son's wedding. And I tried it on. I was like, I really hate wearing dress shirts. They just are so tight and they bind up, and I can't touch my elbows together. And I feel all these things. I buttoned it up and I was like, oh my gosh, I could work out in this. And my wife was like, you look great. This is a shirt. I mean, you're in a dress shirt. It looks great. I'm like, okay. I'm settled. I'm sold. So Barbell Apparel. So one, supporting a master's athlete or sponsoring a master's athlete is a very rare thing. So they've done that. I feel honored that they've sponsored me. Guys, it doesn't pay hardly any of my bills, but the fact that they're going out and they're doing that for a master's athlete, give them a look. We've got a link in the description for Barbell Apparel. It's great stuff, super high quality. And again, they're reaching out to the master's athlete community, and I'd love to have you guys show your appreciation. If there's anything interesting, just click that link below. That doesn't give me any credit. It just lets them know that you're a master's athlete and that you're interested. So that's my pick of the week.
Excellent. Well, I'll have to be checking that because I do wear dress shirts. So I do button up a dress shirt.
Oh man, I tell you what, you could wear this dress shirt. You could actually go to work all day, Rick, and then wear this dress shirt
straight
to do DT, and you'll be fine. I don't know. It's very strange, but man, it looks good and it feels good. But hey, guys, thanks for listening through this podcast and our review of the semifinal workouts for 2023. If you found this episode to be helpful, we'd be so grateful, as always, if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older. Rick, good luck at semifinals this week, my friend.
Thank you. You too.
See you next week.